everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to make some Mexican chicken bowls, but first we are going to prep our sourdoughs to go in the oven. I've had my 2 Dutch ovens heating up at 500 for the last hour. So now we are going just to flip out our loaves. This is my chocolate chunk and cherry sourdough loaf. So more of a breakfast desserty sweet loaf. And we're going to give this a nice score down the middle. So I'm just going to do a nice score across and one this way. And just kind of do some on the side. Although, or you can cut right through that chocolate. You can see those nice big chocolate chunks. I'm really excited for this one because I tried to recreate a recipe that used to be at one of my favorite cafes, and they closed down. And so I'm hoping that this turns out just like that. So we're going to put it in here. And again, my Dutch ovens are very hot. I had them in the oven at 500. We're going to put our lid on here, and then we're going to do our next one, and then we'll work on our Mexican chicken bowls. So we're going to get our second. This is our traditional loaf. And I like to do the ones that we use for like our, grilled cheeses and melts and stuff like that to be in a loaf versus a round because it's just much easier. And let's do the zebra one today. Or it's called like the zebra one, but my husband says it looks more like a chipmunk. So we'll see how this one turns out. And we're going to put this one in my round or my oval Dutch oven, which is perfect for the loaves. Okay. And then let's get these on the right hand. We're going to go put these in the oven. We're going to do 20 minutes at 500. Then we're going to take the lid off and do the last 20 minutes at 450.
You have a question. What is a Mexican chicken bowl?
So it's kind of like a Chipotle, the Chipotle bowls you can get. We're just going to season our chicken with some Mexican spices. We're going to cook up some cilantro rice, make guacamole, a corn salsa, saute up some veggies. So kind of like a burrito bowl that they have at Chipotle. My daughter was begging for Chipotle tonight, and I'm like, no. Well, I'll make it. We're not going to go out. Okay, let me set my timer for 20 minutes. There we go. My daughter loves Chipotle, and I'm always like, I can make it at home for a fraction of the cost, and it'll taste way better. And doesn't matter, I don't think they appreciate my cooking as much. Let's get our rice going for our thing. So we're going to start out with 1.5 cups of rice. And I am going to rinse it first. You always want to rinse your rice so that it leads to a better end product, but also, rice is full of a lot of powder and junk on it. There's actually arsenic in rice. So they always say, give it a good rinse. I mainly do it because it gives a much better end product. So we're just going to kind of rinse it, get all of that starchiness off. That way, instead of your rice getting mushy, you have better grains. Okay. And we are going to be, there we go, just shaking out the excess water. So we've got our rice in here. And this is it's actually a mix of jasmine and basmati because I was at the bottom of 2, but they're very similar rices. So we're going to put in 2 1/4 cups of water. And let's get this going. I'm going to turn the heat up to high, and I'm going to put in a little bit of olive oil, about a tablespoon. And we're going to get some fresh cilantro. So I've got a bag of cilantro. We're going to be using a lot of cilantro in tonight's dinner. And we're going to put some fresh cilantro in our rice so it's kind of a nice Has a nice little herbal flavor as well as a little bit of chicken bouillon just to get a nice kind of seasoned up rice. So we're going to give it a good mince. Go over. And this will, that way I'm putting it in I like to cook it in versus putting it at the very end. The very end, you'll get a stronger cilantro flavor, but my kids don't like as strong of one. So we prefer a little bit more mild. So I like to cook it in, and then it kind of dulls that cilantro flavor out. And then we're going to use a little bit of chicken bouillon, just about a teaspoon. You don't need a whole bunch because there's not much broth in there. So we'll just put a little bit of that chicken bouillon in. And then at the very end, when it's done, we'll squeeze a little bit of fresh lime juice over it to give you that cilantro lime rice. But that's going to be after it's cooked. Otherwise, the lime gets too muted. Okay, once that comes to a boil, we'll reduce it down to low and we'll put our lid on. Okay, let's prep our chicken here so that we can have it start marinating before we saute it up. Okay, so I've got 4 chicken breasts here. We are going to cut them each in half to thin them out. So kind of essentially doing a butterfly, but going all the way through. You'll want to cut off any like white pieces. That's the fat. Always just cut that off. It's just not going to cook up nice. We'll cut through this. And then we're going to do thin strips because I want my chicken to cook up fast on our higher heat so that it remains juicy and tender and doesn't dry out. So this one has a little bit of fat, so we're just going to cut this off. And the reason why you want to cut off the fat is it's just going to be chewy and won't, your overall product, it will ruin the texture of it. There. And we're just going to cut through it again, just so that you don't have really thick pieces of chicken. And then we're just going to slice it up into nice thin slices. So essentially, you know, long but thin. That way it will cook up fast. You want to, I will say, just to try to avoid doing like really thick ones because then you have to cook them a lot longer and that's when they're going to dry out. And you want your chicken to be nice and moist for our Mexican chicken bowls. I know with Chipotle, they like cube up their meat into really tiny bits, but I find that also leads to the meat drying out. So I like to do kind of longer, thin strips. Keeps it a bit more juicy. There we go. Get these. Just a few more. And then we're going to marinate it. We're going to put some Worcestershire sauce, chipotle chili powder, cumin, oregano, and then a little bit of taco seasoning and garlic salt for all the kind of flavors.
One question, are you making any guac?
I am going to make some guac. Can't have chicken bowls without guac. So I have actually several little avocados that we're going to use. I have like 3 more in the fridge, but I didn't think we needed 7 for tonight's dinner. But they were like so cute. They were tiny little avocados. And like they came in a bag versus, you know, when you go to the grocery store, you got to buy them individual. But it was actually a pretty good deal. It was like a bag that had 8 avocados in it for like $3. So I call that winning. So let's just hope they're not all seed. You know, sometimes you get a guacamole or an avocado and you open it up and it's got a huge pit and you're just like, oh, that's so sad. I'm being robbed. Okay.
So you have a question. Do you cook much meat on a grill?
During the summertime, I do grill a lot. We're in the process of starting to build an outdoor kitchen. And so I'm like looking at getting a new grill or whatnot. And so I don't grill as much right now as I used to. I used to grill all the time because I find grilling is just delicious and it's really easy cleanup. Okay, so we've got our chicken here. We're going to use some Worcestershire sauce. This is going to give a nice like the acidity in it is going to help keep that chicken tender. You're going to want about 2 tablespoons for our 4 big chicken breasts. Then we're going to do a little bit of garlic salt. You're going to want about a teaspoon of garlic salt. We're also going to use a little bit of liquid smoke. This is going to give you that grill flavor without grilling, so it's a kind of a great little mock. It's just got a smoky flavor to it. Just about a teaspoon. A little goes a long way with the liquid smoke, but it is my hack for getting that nice smoky flavor without having to grill. We're going to do some paprika, about, I want to say a teaspoon. The chipotle chili powder, we're going to use about a half. If you like it spicier, you can add more. You could also add some cayenne pepper, but we're kind of spice babies in this house. We're going to add some cumin. This is going to give you a nice little earthy flavor to it. I like cumin over straight up chili powder because I think it has just a nice, more mild flavor. And oregano. We're going to add about half a teaspoon of oregano. And then last, a little bit of taco seasoning. And this is going to give you some of those other, like that chili flavor. Just a little, about half a teaspoon. You don't need much. Let me grab my tongs. And we're going to give these a good toss. And we're going to just let them kind of sit in these nice flavors for a little bit. We'll saute them up closer towards the end because, again, these don't need to cook for very long. We want to just make sure they have nice flavor on them.
You have a question, are you using regular or Mexican oregano?
Just regular oregano, because I just kind of, my spice cabinet is a little crazy, and I have so many spices, so I just kind of try to like use the same for a lot of things just to cut down. I need to go through my spice cabinet. I realize, like, you go to the store and you're like, I need this spice, and then you buy it, and then you find like another jar. So I have like 3 jars of cumin in there and whatnot. So I'm like, I gotta use up and go through. Okay, we've got our rice is still waiting to come to a boil. Our chicken is marinating. Let's prep our sweet potatoes for our dinner tonight. So we're gonna roast these in the oven during the second part of our sourdough when we take the lids off and reduce the temperature down to 450. I'm gonna put these underneath the Dutch ovens to roast up. And we're just going to do kind of a mild, like, chili flavor. So we're going to use some oregano, some cumin, and some chipotle chili powder on it, as well as some garlic salt to give it kind of a nice little, Mexican flavor to it. That way we can add these into our bowls, give us just a little bit more fiber.
Got a question, what fruit tonight?
We are going to have some mangoes and strawberries. We haven't cut up strawberries in a while. I was deciding between doing honeydew melon or strawberries, and I was like, we haven't done strawberries, and it's my oldest daughter's favorite fruit. So I got a good couple pounds of them this time. We're getting closer to the in season, which means the strawberries are getting nicer and nicer in flavor. And so these ones look they look nice. So we're going to cut those up. And then I saw some mangoes on sale, so I grabbed some mangoes. And so we'll have that as well because my son loves mangoes. Okay. And then let's cut the ends off of this, and then we're gonna do kind of a smaller kind of cubing on this because we do want these to roast up in 20 minutes. Luckily, sweet potatoes don't really need that long to cook in the oven before they get soft and tender. They cook up much faster than a potato. There we go. So we've got our sweet potatoes, got all that skin off because the skins just are meh on them. And I'm going to cut them into thirds first. And you want to use a nice, when you're working with sweet potatoes, they're actually a lot harder to cut than people think. They're very starchy and firm, even though they cook up to be really soft. So a nice big chef knife works the best for it versus some of those smaller, thinner ones, because you need a little bit of heft to go through it. And it always surprises me how like firm sweet potatoes are with how quickly they cook up. There we go. So again, we're just kind of making them in nice little small cubes. They'll shrink up a little bit as they roast because they'll lose some of their liquid. And they'll be roasting at 450 in our oven. Okay, it sounds like our rice is getting close to a rolling boil. I'm going to give it one more stir. And then once it comes up to a nice rolling boil, after that, I'll put the lid on. Don't put your lid on too soon when you're cooking rice. If you do, and then you wait your kind of time afterwards, you're going to get more crunchy rice. It needs that strong boil in the beginning before it goes down to low to really get the perfect like tender rice. But also don't leave it cooking at a strong boil for too long or you'll have mushy rice. It's kind of, I always wait and do it once it comes to a boil, give it a good stir. And then once it comes to the second boil is when I turn the temperature down. Okay, let me grab my baking tray over here. And I'm gonna grab, now we have, this is my second boil. This is what I'm saying. You can see all these little bubbles everywhere. That's a good rolling boil. You wanna give it one more stir. That way nothing sticks to the bottom. Put the lid on, turn it down to low. Okay, let me grab my spices that we're going to be using and olive oil. Okay, we're gonna throw these on our baking tray. I just want them prepared and ready so when they go into, when I go take the lids off our sourdoughs, these can go right in. I'm always trying to make sure like how to time things to be cooked up at the same time. Like so everything finishes at the, the right time. And it doesn't always work out, but I always try to think through it. So we're going to give a nice little drizzle on these. We're going to give them a nice little like Mexican seasoning to it so that they pair well with our bowls. So I put about, I want to say a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons on there. You don't need to completely drench them, but you want to have enough to coat them. We're going to give a nice shake of garlic salt.
You have a question. Was there a lunch video today, and what did you make?
Yes, we did make a lunch video today. We made we sauteed chicken up, and then we made salads, some homemade croutons using some leftover sourdough bread that we had laying around, and we made delicious homemade donuts. We made our sourdough donuts with vanilla. They were actually, I think we have 5 left. We made like 20, and they've already gone through them. They were little mini donuts with and then some fun Easter colors. The kids were so excited when they came home from school, but yeah, we have that. And I think the video is uploaded and posted on the link on our page. I added about a teaspoon of dried oregano. We're going to add about a half a teaspoon of cumin. I feel like cumin has a stronger flavor, so you need a little bit less of it, but a lovely flavor. And then the chipotle chili, even less, I would say like a fourth. I'm going to sprinkle it up high so it can spread out without being too much, but I do like it to be there. And now we're just going to give it a nice toss with our herbs here. And you're making sure you want to coat all of them with the olive oil and all of that goodness so they have that nice flavor. And your fingers do get a little messy, but it's worth it. These are like, I feel like so many people get stuck in the rut of having like sweet potatoes just either baked plain or like really sweet. And there's so many ways you can do them that are just so delicious that aren't sweet. I'm gonna give my hands a quick wash. Okay, and then we're gonna set these right over here. So when it is time for our sourdough, when I hear that beeping, we can head and do that. Let's start prepping our vegetables. So we're gonna be using 1 yellow onion, I'm going to cut off the ends of each side. And here, we're just going to get rid of this whole outer shell. I'm not going to work at it to peel it to get that one extra layer. And then, since these are going to go in our bowls, we're going to do nice long strings of onions, kind of like you would see with fajitas. There we go. So long and thin. Let's get these sliced up as well. And I would say stick with yellow onions or sweet onions. They're the ones that saute up and are the best. They have the most sugar in them. They caramelize up nicely.
What's the best way to get this recipe?
The best way would be to probably after like an hour or so after we're done making it, we post the video on the link on our page. That way you could just go back and watch it and then cook along with it is probably the quickest way to do it. Because I always say, I'm like, I do try to get recipe cards out, but it does take me a hot minute, and that's extra work versus this is what we're doing I'm cooking dinner for my family right now. I'm not putting on, like, I have you guys watching here, but it's not like a show. We eat everything we make, and this is just what we're having for dinner. And so that would probably be the quickest way. Let me grab a pair of tongs. We're going to give these a nice coat in the olive oil that we have warming up in our skillet. This pan that I'm using right here is called a scan pan, and it is a thin metal pan that has a cast iron coating on it. So I really like it. It's a nice skillet where you don't have to do all the work to keep it seasoned like a traditional cast iron. And it also is not super heavy. Like real cast irons are heavy pots. But it's a nice little compromise. And I love it. My mom got it for me. I think she got it because it's like scan for like Scandinavian. So, you know, she's Swedish. So she's impartial to some of that stuff. Okay. We've got that. Let's get our pepper. We're going to throw our pepper in there next. So we're just going to take it off. Oh, look. This pepper had a baby. A little one growing inside. And then I always like to just pop the little top out. That way none of it goes to waste. And it's really easy, and it's much easier to do that than to try to like cut it out. And then you just want to make sure you pull off any of this kind of fibrous stuff where the seeds are. That doesn't cook up well. So just kind of pull it off. You'll have a better end product. And then unfortunately, the baby's not going to be very good to eat either. So into the trash he goes. And then I find the best way to cut your peppers is to cut them from the inside. The knife goes through just much easier than if you're trying to cut through that slick skin. So I always find this is the best way to cut through them. But our oven is dinging, so we're going to head right there. Let me grab my things and where... Oh. Fooled ya. Gotta grab these. Okay. So we're going to slide this guy right underneath here so it can roast. And then we're going to take these out, take the lids off, and then pop them right back in. So this is our traditional loaf. Get this lid off. Look at that. You can see already the nice expansion going on. Perfect. I always love it when you have those nice little splits through it. So get that in there. I hear you. And then let's get this one is my chocolate cherry sourdough. And I was trying to recreate a recipe I had tasted a long time ago. And it looks delicious. Okay. We're going to slide those back in there. And now I'm going to set I'm going to bring my temperature down to 450 because I don't like my sourdough to have a super dark crust. And then I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. As soon as it cooperates with me. There we go. Okay. We got our onions sauteing. Give them a good shake. Perfect. let's finish up chopping up our peppers here.
Do you make any gluten-free sourdough?
I have never tried that, and I know you can do it, but it is a bit of a challenge. Because you have to use different flours and whatnot, and I've just never experimented with it because I've never needed to. But I know you can. I'll have to talk with my sister-in-law. She has celiac disease, and so they do, everything is gluten-free for her. So I'll have to ask her, see if she's done anything or if she has any tips or whatnot. But it's a bit different than just traditional sourdough, because the gluten-free flour, it's not the same, like it doesn't have the same reactions during the fermentation process. We've got our peppers in.
Yeah, what state are you in?
We are in Tennessee. We're going to give this a nice toss. I've got my skillet cooking up nice and high. And then we're going to cut up some zucchinis and yellow squash. I'm going to cut these guys. I'm going to quarter the zucchini because I don't want to have super huge pieces of zucchini. Sometimes they make them a little bit harder to eat. But zucchinis are great because they just soak up all the delicious flavor. Okay. So we've got our zucchini done. And then we're going to do our yellow squash as well. Yellow squash is a bit more spongy than a zucchini. So I'm going to just take the neck first. And it's a bit more seedy, but still lovely. And we're going to cut it. And we're going to also quarter it. I will say, I love summer squash. So like, yellow squash, zucchini. They're just so delicious because they really pick up any of the flavor that you're cooking with. I like to grill them, like with, you make like a nice marinade with fresh herbs. You coat them and you grill them, and they're delicious. Okay, we've got ours to go in here. We're going to crisp those up. Let's start making some of our sides. I'm not going to start my chicken yet because my chicken is only going to need about 5 or 6 minutes. So we're going to wait there, but I'll get my oil in there for when that's ready. And then I need a bowl I'm going to get some bowls. Got guac and my other salsas. I always like to make lots of different little salsas for this. So you add on. We're going to do a corn salsa. We're going to do guacamole, little tomatoes, and then a little cilantro lime cream fresh. Okay, let's toss this real quick. Always an escapee. And guess where we're going? We can put our black beans. We can have them stewing. About half my kids like beans and half don't. I only like a few types of beans. Luckily, black beans are one of them. Not a big fan of pinto beans. So we're going to do, these are seasoned black beans, so I keep them in the sauce because they have a nice flavor. And then we're just going to jazz them up with some onions or like some green onions. Get them all out there. Okay. We're going to let these caramelize for a hot minute because once you add these in, they're going to start sweating out and the caramelization on our peppers will stop. Okay. Let's get our avocados. See, I told you it's so little. But cute. Oh, just a little seed in there. That's cute. These are actually probably perfect for like individual avocado toasts. There we go. So we're going to put our avocados in there to make some guacamole. Now I do a very simple guacamole where it's really, a lot of people might just call it an avocado mash, where it's just lime juice, garlic salt, and the avocados. Because some of my kids get a little bit, picky when it comes to like onions and tomatoes and peppers in it. So I keep it pretty plain. And then we have the other salsas that they can add into it. There we go. This one seems like it has a bigger. Nope. Still pretty good. I know these are the ones where I got like 8 little baby avocados for like $3.50, and I'm like, that's a pretty good price, seeing that a normal avocado costs anywhere between $1 to $2. I always like it when they all turn out good. You know, sometimes you get one that somebody dropped at the store, and then when you open it up, it's all bruised. And it's always the saddest sight.
Yeah, like what time do you typically eat dinner?
Around this time, we are typically late eaters. We kind of go around our kids' sports schedules, and the older kids get, the later they push their sports schedule back. So we kind of just got back from soccer, and our goal is to try to eat between 8:45 and by 9-ish. We're probably going to be on track for 9. It just works well for our family. That way we can all eat together. I'm a big proponent of having family dinners and sitting down at the table together and having no one eat alone. So it works well. My kids all have a nice snack when they get home from school, but we're just, if we eat dinner earlier, like when most people eat it, like 5 or 6, the kids always are like, at around 8:30, 8:45, what's for dinner? And I'm like, we ate dinner. And they're like, no, we didn't. That was lunch. You know, except Sundays. Sundays we'll do an earlier dinner because my parents eat with us, and they are early eaters. So then we typically have like a late night dessert. Okay, I got our squash in here with our peppers and our onions. Okay, let's get, where's my little tomatoes? Get our tomatoes, poke these through, and we're just going to slice them up and just kind of make a little mild like tomato salsa, pico de gallo. So nothing too spicy. I said we're not spicy people. I'm going to put my back burner on low so we can cook those beans up. Here we go. And just a small dice, but you don't have to go wickedly small. I'm always like, bigger, messy, easier, whatever's quicker. And these are just plum tomatoes or Roma tomatoes. They've got a nice firmness to them, so they're really nice for dicing up, which is, you know, some tomatoes are more mealy. They don't work well for dicing. Okay. And let's do our cream fresh. I'm going to just put a little bit of cream in here. Let's chop up some cilantro, and we're going to make our little dips here. Okay, so I've got about, I want to say, a 1/4 of a cup to a 1/3 of a cup of cilantro. I tried to pull off just the leaves, and we're going to mince this up. And this is going to go in our cream fresh and our pico de gallo and our corn salsa. And we're going to do a nice little mince over it. Okay. So we'll put some in this one. This is nice because you're just really making a bunch of little dips, but they add a lot of flavor to whatever you're making. Get that. Let's give our sauteed peppers things, and then I'm going to start turning on my oil to start cooking the chicken. There we go.
You got what type of cutting board is that?
This is just a good old plastic cutting board. It's a really big one, which I love. I actually got it for a Christmas present back in college. I want to say it was like 2008. So it has made it through before kids, moves, marriages. I love it. I even melted it and I cut it off because I love this cutting board. It's not super heavy. It's lightweight. It's really easy to sanitize, which is nice. You know, I like wood cutting boards for when I'm using bread and some things, but I don't like to cut a lot of, I don't like to cut meat on wood cutting boards or things because they're just so hard to sanitize. And if you do get them like super wet, they warp. I've lost a lot of cutting boards to warping because when you scrub them and then they dry and then they misshape. We've got some green onions here. I'm taking the white parts of my green onions and I'm going to throw them in with my black beans because I want those to cook up because they're not quite as good for things, but they'll be perfect in our black beans. And then we're going to mince up these. We're going to put some in our pico de gallo and our corn salsa. So we've got some in here. Here. Let's give a good toss again with our. It's a lot of multitasking. But our skillet is doing nice. I love when you get the peppers and I'm trying to pull out and they get this nice little brown crispy on it. It's like the perfect. You get that hot skillet. And that's the trick for our, getting the nice sauteed vegetables up for our Mexican bowls because they give you as if, when you go to a Mexican restaurant and they serve you like the fajitas on the skillet, it gives you that skillet taste to them, which I love. So we've got our vegetables. We're about to put our chicken in. Our rice is cooking for our Mexican bowls, and now we're making up our dips. Let's get our creme fraiche going. So creme fraiche, this is going to be kind of like a sour cream. We're going to use our lime juice to curdle the cream. So what we're going to do is we're just going to squeeze this fresh lime juice right over it. And we're then just going to let it sit for a few minutes, and then we'll stir it up, and then we'll add in some garlic salt. And when we stir it up, our cream will have curdled into a nice sour cream. I think our oil is nice and hot over here, so let's get our chicken in here. There we go. So this is our chicken that we marinated in Worcestershire sauce, chipotle chili, paprika, garlic salt, oregano, and a little bit of taco seasoning and cumin. So I'll have just a nice, lovely flavor. I can smell that like kind of that earthy flavor that comes with like cumin and chili powder. We're going to let it sit right there because I want to get that nice little crispy crust on it. Okay, let's get our lime for our avocados. We need a whole lime in our avocados for our guacamole. The lime is going to add that nice tart citrus thing. It's also going to prevent the avocados from going brown, although we rarely have any guacamole left over to make it to the next day. But if you do, just save your lime peel and then put it on the top and then cover it with saran wrap and push down so no oxygen can touch it, and that will keep it nice and green. And then we're going to use some in our corn salsa. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to go through. We're going to add a little bit of garlic salt to everything. So, yes, I love garlic salt. You want a good about a teaspoon in the guacamole. And everything else just a little bit less. And last but not least, we're going to add a little bit of red onion to both our pico de gallo and our corn salsa. We're going to mince it up fairly small. That way you don't have any really big, like astringent pieces for it. I love the red onion for the corn salsa. If you have it, white onions are really good for the pico de gallo, but a red onion can work as well. They have a bit of a kick to them and are kind of nice for salsas, but red onions work well. So we'll put that in there. Put this in here. Let's go stir our chicken. But you see how we didn't move it? And we got this lovely brown crust on it. That's what you want. It gives you that nice crispiness, but keeps the center nice and tender. And that's why you want to wait until your skillet is really hot to put your chicken in, so you can get that fast cook that kind of seals the heat in, or the juices in, but gives you a lovely crust. Okay. Let's check our rice. Oh, good. We're almost there. It looks like it's nice and soft. So I'm going to turn the heat off of my rice so that it doesn't burn. We got our beans here. We're going to add a little bit of, just a pinch more seasoning to the beans. So a little bit of garlic salt and a little bit of cumin and chili powder and oregano. A little bit, as in like a fourth of a teaspoon, not much, because they already are a little bit seasoned. There we go. Let's give our vegetables one last toss. Nice. We're getting that nice, good little char on them. Perfect. And now is when you're going to get just a little bit of seasoning to your vegetables. I always wait till the very end so the seasoning doesn't stick. So we'll do a little bit of taco seasoning on them. And this has a bit of salt in it, so you don't need to add any more salt. But it gives them just a nice earthy flavor. There we go. Give this nice toss up. And then I'm going to turn off my skillet right here because it is all done cooking. Let's get to the best part. Let me get my spoons and we're going to start mashing up. Okay. So, my hands are slippery from the limes. Here is our corn salsa. It's got lime juice, cilantro, green onions, red onions, and corn, and a little bit of garlic salt, and it's delicious. Let's do our pico de gallo, which is cilantro, garlic salt, onions, green onions. Now we're going to mash up our avocados. And this is just fresh lime juice. You got to use fresh limes. You can't use that like true lime. That just won't work. And garlic salt. Super simple. If you want to add, you could add some of your pico de gallo in there to get you more of like that, you know, guacamole that has all the jazz in it. But my kids kind of like it all separate. There we go. And I like to use a fork to mash it up than a spoon because it just works well. There. This is everyone's favorite. Everyone loves guacamole. Okay. So we've got our guacamole. Before we stir our creme fraiche, I'm going to turn our chicken here because I think we're getting about done. Oh, perfect. Run away, chicken. You see we've got these nice sizzling. Perfect. I'm going to turn our skillet off here because they are just about done. So I'm going to still keep them on the burner, but you don't want to overcook them. They'll dry out. So they're cooked all the way through and we're just going to let them marinate in their juices there. Our creme fraiche, we got it for our guacamole. So we added our lime juice into our cream with garlic salt and cilantro. And you can see as we stir it, that lime juice, you can see everything is thickening up. That is just a super easy way to make like essentially a homemade sour cream. It's called creme fraiche, but it is delicious. It gives you way more flavor than traditional sour cream. Okay. I'm going to put my back burner on. I'm going to put some cheese on top of our beans here. I'm going to give them a nice stir. And then my daughter loves, you know, when you go to a Mexican restaurant and you get refried beans with that nice layer of cheese on it. She loves that. So we do a nice layer of cheese on the top. And then I'm going to put the lid on it and let it melt. And we are going to head over to our oven to get our sourdough. Just make sure I have a nice clear spot for this because it'll be hot. Okay. Turn you off. Lovely. This is our chocolate cherry, perfect, nice golden crust. We're going to put it right here. And then we're going to get our traditional loaf out and our sweet potatoes out. Look at our traditional loaf. We did a zebra stripe, or as my husband calls it, a chickmunk stripe on it. Put it right here, and then we're going to grab our sweet potatoes. That are roasting up.
You have a question? Is there any extra bread after dinner?
We typically have, since we make up 2 loaves, about half and half of each. And then we use them a lot for sandwiches the next day. When I make my sourdough loaves, I do like to get them out of these really as quickly as possible so the crusts stay nice. So I got my first one. Get my second one because these Dutch ovens stay hot and they will continue to cook them. So it's really important. I lost my bundle of bananas there. Yes, we do. Okay, so here are our 2 gorgeous sourdough loaves. We have our traditional loaf where we did the fun zebra stripe look on it. Let's look at this beautiful, nice golden brown crust on the bottom. That's why I said you've got to get it out of your Dutch ovens really quickly. And then we have our chocolate cherry sourdough loaf with chocolate chunks, semi-sweet chocolate chunks, and dried cherries. Just look at that beautiful. I'm so excited for this one. It looks so delicious. Okay, guys,
Don't comment today, guys. Chipotle for dinner.
yes.
Our daughter would be in the.
Yes, she would be. Okay, let's turn. Let's see how these. Oh, perfect. Our cheese is melted. So I think we are ready to serve up dinner. Let's get this cleaned up so I have a place to serve it. Since this cutting board, we'll move it out of the way. So for these, we're going to serve them up in like a bowl. I have these, they're like a pasta bowl or whatnot, but they are great for making like a burrito bowl like this. So let's get all of our delicious ingredients here. So this, oh, almost forgot. Oh, I must have tossed it. Well, we was going to squirt some lime over it, but that's A-okay. We've got our cilantro rice that we used some chicken broth in it and fresh cilantro. Do a little bit more. Nice little thing on the bottom. Now I'm going to do beans because, you know, when you go to Chipotle, they always make you do the beans first. So here are our black beans with some extra spices in it. I'm going to kind of make a pretty bowl here. We've got our fajita veggies, as Chipotle would say. So we put our fajita veggies right here. This is sauteed peppers, onions, zucchini. We're going to come over here. We're going to get some of our delicious sweet potatoes. I love sweet potatoes. And let's not forget our Mexican chicken. So we get a nice big serving of chicken on top. And here is where you get to, this is like your ice cream bar. You're topping it off with all of your ice cream favorites. We've got some corn salsa. We've got some pico de gallo. And then let's do our big scoop of guacamole. And then, of course, we have our cilantro lime cream fresh. And for those cheese lovers, a little extra cheese, and voila, a perfect dinner. We've got Chipotle at home for a fraction of the cost, and I guarantee you it tastes way better and is better for you. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, show you what we're cooking for our family, hopefully teach you guys something else.
Yeah, request to cut the bread, but
It's been, we can cut the bread if you. Okay, let's see. We got it. Let me get my knife. It's been a good minute or two. So.
you want to explain why you typically don't?
Yes, so you've got to wait about 10 minutes coming out of the oven after you do it because you need all that steam to come out. And so it's really important to wait. So here's our traditional loaf. You hear that nice kind of crunch through it. So look at that beautiful crumb on there. It's still steaming nice and hot. And then this, I'm going to hold this one because I don't want to get burned by a piece of chocolate, is our chocolate cherry loaf. Now, this is the one that I've been experimenting with, so hopefully it turned out gorgeous. Look at all those chocolate chunks and cherry. This is awesome. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be my dessert tonight, guys, and probably my breakfast and maybe my lunch. I'm super excited for it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, all of our videos we upload to the link on our page, so you can always rewatch and cook along at home. Hopefully we taught you something here today. And again, but thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and